Alright, hello guys, how's it going? In today's video, we're going to be once again taking another look at our major tornado outbreak that we're expecting today on Sunday, April 19th. Now, before I get started with this video though, I would ask that you do subscribe if you like weather-related content, and also make sure to share this video with your friends, family, and social media. Now, for today's comment of the day, staying on the same theme, I want to know, what is your favorite type of pie? And give me a good reason, and I'll be featuring that in tomorrow's video. Now, let's get started with this video. This frame that I'm showing you right here is a frame that I made, I think, Wednesday, so very, very far out, and a lot of people said this will not be a tornado outbreak, this won't be a major outbreak, and they basically were trying to say my forecast was wrong and I was hyping it up. Alright, now, I'm going to change this frame, and keep a mental note of this. 3, 2, 1... And if you look closely, you can see that moderate risk is almost located exactly where I put major outbreak on the thumbnail there. So almost perfect a few days out with what the Storm Prediction Center is thinking. But yes, we do have a moderate risk there from Louisiana through Mississippi, Alabama, and Georgia. It's going to be a big day, and I think the interesting thing here, as opposed to last week, is that a lot of this, especially on the eastern end, is going to be happening possibly at nighttime, which makes it even more dangerous. So we're going to need people to be very, very aware of what's going on outside, even as they sleep. So try to keep a phone handy next to you or something that can alert you if there is a tornado warning, because a lot of these could happen at night, and I am expecting the chance for major tornadoes, EF3s through 5s, once again, just like last week here in our Dixie Alley tornado area. Now, we're about to move on, and what we're going to do is we're going to look at that tornado risk, the wind risk, the hail risk, and then we're going to kind of get into the modeled forecast. We're going to take it hour by hour, just give you guys simulated radar. You might be wondering what time the storms are coming for where you live, and we're kind of going to break that down later in the video. Alright, so here's your wind risk first off, and we have a hatched area. I'll talk about that in a second. The green area is 5%, the yellow is 15%, the red is 30%, and then that purplish shade is 45%, which is actually quite high. That almost brings us into high risk territory, but usually we don't see that for wind. Sometimes, but not really. I don't think we will see a high risk today. There's always going to be people whenever we have a moderate risk that say, oh, there might be a high risk coming, or they should make a high risk, but it's probably not going to happen, especially considering I don't think that the parameters look quite as good as they did last week, and we didn't even see a high risk last week, even though it could have been warranted. I don't think we will today either. So here's the thing with the hatched risk area. That's where we're expecting the chance for significant damaging wind. They're expecting more extreme damaging wind potentially in that significant risk area, and that's what that hatched area means. All of those percents, by the way, that's within 25 miles of a given location. Alright, now let's move on to that hail risk, and it's pretty much the same thing. We're just a little bit further west with it, and we don't have a 45% chance. We only have a 30% chance there. So within the green area, we have 5% chance of hail, 15% chance of hail in the yellow, and then within the red we have 30% chance, and again within our hatched area we have the chance for significant hail, which I think is 2-inch diameter hail or above in this case for there. Now we're about to move on, and what we're going to do is we're going to take a look at the same kind of map except for tornadoes, and we're going to talk about that, and then again we're going to get into the modeled forecast for radar, shear, all sorts of parameters. We're going to talk about the chance for tornadoes as well, all coming up in this video. Alright, so here we are with our tornado risk, and you can see this actually encompasses, I think, a lot of our moderate risk. I think the moderate risk is mostly for our 15% chance of tornadoes here. It's looking like a big tornado day. Again, people really doubted if this would even be a tornado outbreak or really have much chance for tornadoes. They said, oh, it looks like mostly just a wind and hail day. I saw it very early on, and I knew that this was going to pretty much be a high potential for a tornado outbreak here, so I obviously didn't bend to what the general thinking was at all. I saw the ingredients that I needed to see to know that I think there was going to be a tornado outbreak, and that's pretty much why I called for that back on Wednesday. I'm never going to hold back information like that just because the general consensus is that it might not be. If I have a gut feeling, look, this looks like it could be a tornado outbreak, I'm going to go ahead and tell you guys, and that's what I did, and it actually panned out very well in this case because we look like we're going to have a tornado outbreak now that we're to Sunday. Within the green area, we have a 2% chance of tornadoes. Within the brown, we have 5% chance. Within the yellow, we have 10% chance. And within the red, we have a 15% chance. Now, back on Wednesday, I did tell you guys I think that we're going to at least see a 10% chance or a 15% chance, so it's actually a little bit higher end than I thought because we do have that very large 15% chance, which is almost a little bit more than what I expected. And then we have the significant hatched area, which is indicating that they think there's a chance for EF2s and above, which are obviously very major tornadoes. So we're going to have to be keeping a very close eye on the situation. Again, if you live here, especially in the eastern region of this map, so let's say, I guess, Alabama and Georgia and a bit of South Carolina as well, we're going to want to really, and especially North Carolina, that's going to probably be very late at night if that was to occur. We're going to want to really watch this one because that could be in the middle of the night, and obviously that would create a much more dangerous dynamic because people are going to be asleep and not as much aware of their outside surroundings. So we're going to have to really, if you live in those regions, just be very careful. Please have a way of knowing if there's tornado warnings while you sleep. Those are killer tornadoes at nighttime. Very, very dangerous situations there. Obviously, don't just underestimate it if you live in the western regions. Just because it's daytime doesn't mean it won't be dangerous, obviously, because we're expecting the potential for very large tornadoes for Mississippi, Louisiana, and Texas as well, even Arkansas and Oklahoma possibly. Now, we're about to move on, and what we're going to do is we're going to get into our modeled guidance here for this storm. We're going to talk a lot about the potential for thunderstorms, and then we're going to take the simulated radar hour by hour, and we're going to look at that tornado parameter as well, which tells us basically how favorable conditions are for tornadoes hour by hour as well. All right, so as we look at our model guidance, we're going to look at our high temperatures for today first off. So we're seeing 70s in the reds mostly. And then as it gets kind of to that brownish shade there, that's where we're looking at 80s. In southern Florida, even 90s. We're not looking at too much severe weather, though, but that's interesting to see a lot of 90s for Florida today. But southern Georgia, southern Alabama, southern Mississippi, and then mostly eastern Louisiana, we're all looking at 80s. Look at the northern portion of those states, 60s and 50s. That's why we're not looking at as much of severe weather potential to the north. The temperatures aren't as good, and I'll talk a little bit more about why the simulated radar is going to tell us there might not be as much potential to the north as well. Let's look at the dew points. We usually look for 60s and 70s, and we have a ton of the 60s and 70s. The turquoise colors indicating 60s, and then the purple colors indicating 70s. So we definitely have really high dew points, enough for severe weather. And then here's your CAPE, which is convective available potential energy, and we look for 1,000 plus. The green colors is 1,000, the yellow colors is 2,000, and then the red colors is 3,000, and those purple showing up for Mississippi is even 4,000. So we have a ton of convective available potential energy. I'm looking for very massive supercells to develop in Louisiana and Mississippi. Going to be very interesting to see how that plays out because there's tons of fuel for these storms to just absolutely take off. Here's your bulk shear, very high. We have reds and yellows. That's indicating areas where we have a lot of favorable conditions for tornadoes. We look for this to be very high, and sure enough, that's going to be the case. Let's take it to, that was at about, I would say 4 p.m. Let's take that all the way to about 10 p.m. here, and you can see that moves mostly into Alabama and Mississippi. So let's take a look at our simulated radar. At 8 a.m., we're going to have showers up to the north, again, eating some of that potential. But as we take it to about 4 p.m., we still have those showers, but look at the thunderstorms developing in Texas there. You can hardly see it, but they're developing there. And then as we move towards about maybe 6 p.m., we're going to see those thunderstorms move into Texas and Louisiana. Some of those thunderstorms for central Alabama and Mississippi and Georgia could be severe, but that's really just looking like some general thunderstorms and showers. Not too much severe potential there. Now, it's as we move on to our significant tornado parameter, you can see that most of that is actually bottled up in Texas, Louisiana, and Mississippi. There is a bit in the more southern regions of Alabama and Georgia as well, though. We're about to move on, and what we're going to do is we're going to take it further into the evening as things are going to start to get way more severe here. All right, so as you can see, those thunderstorms, again, for central Mississippi, Alabama, and Georgia are looking pretty bad, but it's mostly those ones that are located over Louisiana and Texas that are going to move in that are going to be quite bad, I would say. This is by 4 p.m. And look at that significant tornado parameter. Most of that, again, located in Louisiana and right there on the Louisiana-Mississippi border. This reminds me a lot of last Sunday, just a little bit further south than last Sunday. Let's take another look, and this is going to be by 6 p.m., and you can see, again, we have a pretty good line of showers and thunderstorms in the very central and northern regions of the deep south states, but it's those southern ones that we're going to want to look out for that are located in Louisiana. Let's look at that significant tornado parameter once again, and the purples and pinks indicating areas with very, very favorable conditions for tornadoes. And again, a lot of that bottled up for Louisiana still. So this is why I'm thinking these ones are going to be more severe, the ones that move in later, not the ones earlier on. Because if you look to the east, we're not seeing much potential for tornadoes earlier on with those initial thunderstorms and showers. Let's take it to about 9 p.m. and you can see a lot of those thunderstorms mostly move into Mississippi by this point. And then same story with the significant tornado parameter. It follows suit and it actually moves into Mississippi by this point. So it's these later storms that are actually going to be more dangerous. And again, 9 p.m., we're looking at nighttime already. It's going to be dark, harder to see. This is why it's such a dangerous situation today, even compared to last Sunday. Though I think there was more potential last Sunday, the timing with this one is what makes this one a little more dangerous, I think. Let's take it all the way to about 12 a.m. And you can see, again, the more potent thunderstorms have now moved into Alabama by that point. Let's take it to, this is maybe, I would say this is about 5 a.m. So really, this is the middle of the night. Hardly anybody's up at 5 a.m. We see a lot of those potent thunderstorms are for Alabama and then in through even Georgia and South Carolina by this point. And then by the time we reach about 8 a.m. on Monday, they're located mostly for central Georgia and central South Carolina. And then by the time we reach maybe about 1 p.m. tomorrow on Monday, these severe thunderstorms are really reaching the coast of South Carolina, Georgia, and North Carolina. I think South Carolina is going to get the worst of it tomorrow, though. They look to have the most favorable conditions for dangerous weather. Now, for today's comment of the day, I asked you guys, what is your favorite flavor of cake? And Jimmy S. said, my favorite flavor of cake is red velvet. You never can go wrong with a good red velvet cake. And I absolutely love red velvet cake. It reminds me of when I went on a Carnival cruise and they had red velvet cake all over the place, and I would just always grab a ton. It was so good. Anyway, guys, thank you so much for watching this video. Again, be sure to share it with your friends, family, and social media. Please stay safe during these storms. They're going to be very potent. I'm going to be live streaming, hopefully, during the day today, so be sure to check that out as well. See you guys in the next video. Thanks for watching.